It's online, trying to save people coming in. We have a very light agenda tonight, but I was tempted, somebody said, why not cancel it? And I think no, because item number 7 is the work programme. And I'm actually determined that we get stuff on that and actually start looking at stuff that should be on it that isn't. And I think it's a worthy thing that we should be doing. So the other item is a review of the council's energy storage projects and solar and procurement and all the rest of it. But we do have some questions. Now, the first item on the agenda properly is questions from members of the public. And I understand we have somebody from the public here, and we can do a little bit of a chat about what they're doing. And I think that's quite interesting. So I think we only have one member of the public here, and who is here. So I think that's Matt. So Matt, do you want to ask your question, and then can we have a little bit of a discussion and just make us aware of what you're doing? But ask your question,
Thanks.
then it's officially asked.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, so my question was, I guess, to the panel, just that in light of the current government's Great British Energy's plan to have community energy and capacity building front and centre, and with the recent released Warm Homes Plan, how is the council supporting community energy groups to establish? And I just said also alongside that, this could drive real impact, green technical jobs, and if Bedfordshire Energy together is supported, could be a pivotal driver to change locally, being part of energy solutions, more equitable distribution of community assets, all with community benefit added on.
Right. Well, thanks for that question. I think that's a very loaded question. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Central Beds and South Beds area, sort of towards Luton? What's the story? What sort of things have we got to look at? And could you give us a little sort of outline, because that way we can really enjoy this.
Sure. So Kelly, who was going to represent the community energy groups today, that wasn't able to come. She helped to set up the community energy groups across Central Bedfordshire. She's also helping to facilitate the kind of the Bedfordshire-wide community energy group. The reason for a Bedfordshire-wide one is because it just makes sense for the geographical area, for the scale, the readiness of projects. Community energy is well established across many cities in the UK. It is like there's many councils that have done it themselves, but also have helped other community energy groups set up. Essentially, you have two elements. One is fuel sort of energy advice and guidance for those in fuel poverty, and the other side is energy generation projects. And the energy generation projects generally are rooftop solar, but they could be solar panels, solar farms, could be wind farms, could be net zero streets. There's a whole range of different projects that can be set up, and this depends on the need, the business case. But the idea is that a community energy group is a not-for-profit, and they raise the capital for the projects from residents and from investors from outside for quite a modest return, and then any of the profits that are made go back into community benefit locally.
Could you tell us one? Well, we're in Bedford. Where's the nearest one I can sort of drive down and have a chat with somebody, a parish council chairman or somebody, where it's been working and it's sort of cool? This is our really great one. What's your sort of showcase one I can go and see?
It's new to our region, so we haven't got anything set up currently. But probably the closest project, which I think I'm allowed to say, is that's been in discussion, is in partnership with Wilmot Dixon, and it would be for the police headquarters, their rooftop. So the idea is that they would like to have a re-roofing done if they can find the budget, and we've been working with them to work out the technical feasibility of that, and then to support quite a large scale rooftop solar project.
Right. You'll have to excuse my ignorance. The police headquarters, let's talk about them, because lots of people here are on the police authorities, and they have a big old block of solar. What happens to the energy? Does it go in storage? How does it work? How does it enable the community to benefit?
In that scenario, using that example, it would be through a purchase power agreement the energy would be consumed on site. The police would pay for the energy used to the Community Benefit Society, to us. That would be at a lower than market rate, so they would save money on their energy purchases. And then it's set up in a way that we would manage the assets over its lifetime, which is normally a 25 to 30-year project. And then essentially the theoretical business case for it is you do it that there is a sense of profit that is used into developing new projects, or completely as a separate pot that will be used for the Community Benefit Society's aims, which will often be around urban greening, reducing climate, sort of things, that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Okay. So we've got several large factories that have solar on the roof. They'd be able to do that sort of thing, would they?
Yeah, there's a lot of different types of projects that can be used. So it could be warehouses. The initial sort of thing, the best case scenario for the solar generation projects are where they've got high electricity demands in the daytimes and they're open for most of the week, because that will give the largest kind of payback period for a community energy group, and it will allow them to scale up to then to be able to do the more marginal projects.
Okay. Councillor Hendricks has indicated, my last question is, Borough Hall's got a huge amount of solar panels on the roof and some spare room. Is that the sort of thing you think actually the council themselves should probably lead the way?
As in, sorry, how do you mean? Sorry, Tom.
Well, we've already got a load of solar panels on the roof. Is this something we could be part of a scheme? Put some more solar panels up, because there is a bit of roof that doesn't have any on it.
Yeah.
Is that so? Be part of this sort of scheme, lead the way by example.
I think obviously for council priorities, I suppose you need to work out internally, because there are the case where you may be able to get funding to do it yourself, and that's going to be more lucrative for you to do it yourselves. But if there are more properties that that are available or ready to go, and you want to see some of those savings happen at an earlier date, then we could raise those share offers and get into that agreement with you. I mean, it is obviously complicated to take it further than here, in terms of we need to talk to your other teams, the legal teams, the asset teams, all that sort of thing. But yeah.
Okay. I just saw the bit about maintaining, which was something. Councillor Hendricks, you've been very patient. Do you want to ask your question?
Yes, hi. Sorry, I missed your introduction, but so you mentioned that the community society benefits. So do the benefits stay local, in the sense that, for example, your example of the police, would the benefits then be, let's say, for the Kempston town, or the neighbours of the police station? That's my first question. So how local are your local benefits? And then the second question is around how does your kind of funding mechanism differ from something like the local climate bonds that are issued by Green Finance, which allows residents also access to these place-based investments into green energy?
Yeah, thanks. The local benefit can be, there's a potential for it to be kind of project to project. I think we haven't fleshed out that fully. I think what we've talked about is, and we wanted to know, with the police being, I guess, our client as such, kind of what they would foresee their kind of hopes for the community benefit locally in that sense. Because obviously the Bedfordshire Police is based in Kempston but covers a larger geographical area. So that was part of the discussion. But yeah, I think in theory, yes, it could definitely be in partnership. If that was part of the criteria of setting up a project that was done locally within Bedford, that would be the benefit happens in that area too. I'm not entirely sure the difference between the climate bonds, if I'm entirely honest, Councillor. But I can look into that, and I'd be happy to take that.
Right. Because that's quite a well-established model now for councils really to get investment into, for example, renewable energy. It's basically where residents can invest in specific projects, and then they're usually around kind of the savings interest rate they get, or they can even choose to give the interest back to the council. So it's been trialed in a number of councils, but that's more to fund I would say council projects.
Yeah, I suppose, is that similar to maybe what I've seen recently with Bristol City Council, where they've had their own bonds and they've run that on abundance?
Yeah, I think Bristol has the ones, the green finance ones.
In which case, then that's a very similar sort of outcome. So that'd be essentially raising finance in a similar way to that community energy would. But obviously, if you were to set up a separate climate pot, or to run the bonds yourself, that would be managed by yourselves in that sense. I suppose part one is council owned assets, and part two is how we collaborate within the borough itself. And that's the kind of the
Can I come back to the community benefits? Because who decides on that? Because you mentioned it depends on what the police want, but for me, it's more about it depends upon what the local community want, if you really want it to be community benefits. So how do you square that?
Yeah, to be honest, we are, like I say, we yet to have done a project, but we're fleshing that out at the moment, and we'd be really happy to take input into that. I think what we've looked at is and had advice on is what other community energy groups have done across the UK. And then what I guess we've, as directors and volunteers, we have our own, I suppose, opinions of where the money should be spent. That kind of goes in line with the objectives of the Benefit Society. But I'm sure that could take some guidance to be allocated well. Is that helpful?
Okay.
Thank you very much. Lucy, come on. Councillor Bywater, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. So Hilda might not have heard, but because Kelly, Matt's was here to ask a question actually, but it happens wonderfully that he is a community energy project manager. So he's not the presentation in case you thought he was, but he's brilliantly doing us a sort of summary of community energy. But I'm thinking there's so much potential for this borough in terms of a just transition, because those are the watchwords we have. We've declared a climate emergency. The just transition is everything. So the community benefit, as Hilda has highlighted, is really important. But I just wanted to say, Matt, I'm not sure if you know, but we've got an event penciled in. Christina might know more how penciled in it is on community energy in March. Not sure the venue yet, but I'm really hoping all of this committee will be able to come, or colleagues will be able to come, as many members will be able to come. It's late March on a weekday, something like 4 till 7. I don't know if Christina knows the date. I did have something penciled in, but I don't have it in front of me. But I think that would be a really useful way of members finding out more, and members of the community who'd be interested in the sort of bond or investment idea of finding out more, because it's something new to the borough. And also I want to say Matt and his colleagues in Central Beds have been doing such good work on, as he said, on fuel poverty, on advising members of the public. So it's, as he said, it's not just about the big projects, it's about that. And we have such a fuel poverty problem in Bedford, as Public Health knows. So there's so much work to be done there. So I think the potential is huge if we really pay attention to this. Anyway, thank you, Matt. Excellent.
Pleasure. Thanks for letting me ask the questions and answer.
Yeah. Matt, is there anything else you think you ought to say? Because what you've done is you've opened the subject up, and I assume we're going to talk about our work programme later, that either you or somebody will be coming in to chat about this a bit later, in our next work programme.
No, I mean, obviously I feel that it's something that we've got some volunteers working hard on across the Central Bedfordshire groups already, and there's some good expertise and amazing knowledge sharing within the sector. It's from our perspective, we see it's just a matter of time to kind of get some of these projects rolling, but the more support we can have from the council to kind of get that out there to really establish well, I think it would really kind of help it to have as much impact and benefit as possible. And again, like locally, I see it as a real kind of connection point within being able to boost the collaboration, cross sector kind of upskilling as well, like using the Bedford College and the electricians to kind of getting those future skills sort of really cemented into our borough. That's all. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll hear more from you in the future, and or your good friends. And I'm sorry they weren't here today, but anyway, thank you very much, Matt. With no further ado, then we return to our lovely jubbly Borough Council minutes, and we've done. Hang on, we do have another member of the public. I don't know if that member of the public wants to ask a question, or are they just watching? I take the silence that the other member of the public doesn't want to ask a question. So, right. So just watching. Oh, thank you for that. Rightio. Well, there we go. So questions from the members of the public are done. Item 2, to receive any apologies for absence. Have we had any apologies for absence?
I don't believe we've had any, Chair.
It looks as though we've got a full team, so looks as though everybody's there. Item 3, minutes. To confirm the minutes of the meeting of the committee held on the 10th of November 2025. Copy enclosed. Has everybody looked at those minutes? Has anybody got anything they wish to say about those minutes? Oh, yeah. Well, I'll take the minutes as read then, shall I? I'm getting no howls of protest. Okay, thanks for that. Right. Item 4 on the agenda is disclosure of local and/or disclosure of pecuniary interests. Has anybody got any interests they wish to disclose at this present time? I think I'm romping through the agenda. Right, you'll have to help us, Alison, because this is Community Energy, to receive a presentation from Mrs. Kay Dibbett of Community Energy Pathways. And I think that's what Matt was doing earlier. He was sort of filling in as best he could.
Yes, exactly. So I think we could probably discuss this under the work program if you wish, but I think we have invited her to come to your next meeting. It's just up to you if you want to pursue that with her as well.
I take guidance. Lucy, is she a chum of yours? Have you heard her presentation before?
I haven't, but I know she did prepare a presentation, so which I haven't seen, but I do think it would be really good to have her next time if we can. Okay. She's incredibly knowledgeable and enthusiastic, and would be able to give us examples as well.
Matt, if you could take it back, we're looking forward to chatting to her. And Alison, would you get in contact with her? Is there anything she could send us in the meantime, perhaps her presentation, and any information you want to send to the committee? We're always welcome to have that sort of stuff, and it gives a sort of basis of what we can chat to you about, and also questions we can ask you. But basically, you know, is anybody else doing this, and can I go and have a look at them and have a chat to them, even over the phone? So that'd be lovely. So that's Mrs. I got this right, Miss Kay Dibbett of Community Energy Pathways. We're going to talk about work program. I think that is what we, number one thing we'd like to talk about. Number 2 is review of council's energy storage projects, solar investments and renewable procurements. Now, I do see that we've got the wonderful Paul online, Paul Pace, who is the fount of all knowledge on these things. And I don't know if there's anything you want to comment about what we're doing on solar, Paul, and how it's going and all that sort of stuff. over to you, Paul, because it just says on the agenda to review the council's energy storage projects, solar investments and renewable procurement. How's it going?
Lucy, did you want to come in first?
Sorry, yes, Paul, just to jump in, we didn't do questions from members. I know we asked Matt lots of questions, but we didn't do questions from members on the agenda.
Right. Now I've done that little run-in for Mr. Pace, should we come back to that afterwards? And I won't forget it, or you won't let me forget it. But let's do the how we're doing the council's energy storage projects, Mr. Pace, because you revved you all up, and then let you fly. I'm sure you've got loads of information to tell us.
And thank you very much, Chair. We're sort of going to have a double act because Christina's here, as Lucy said earlier. So hopefully Christina can chip in or answer any bits if we get any questions afterwards. So this is just really a snapshot of where we are with the council's storage of energy, solar investments and renewable procurement. So as you'll be well aware, we've got a number of various different schemes with solar on some of our buildings and also on our closed landfill site. So this is really just a quick update of where we are. Some of the newest installations we've had are on some of our car parks. So we've had some solar put on the multi-storey car park in Queen Street. That's doing really well as we speak. I think some facts and figures are that's now supplying 65% reduced the actual consumption or the costs to the council on that car park, which is good news. We've also got the scheme on Lurk Street car park, and this includes both solar and battery, I must add, not just solar. So we're obviously generating the energy, but we're also storing it as well. And that again across both them sites has reduced our energy bills monthly by about 50%. And I know from some of the facts and figures on them two schemes, the expected payback is 8 years, and afterwards obviously that's all extra income that we're about to obviously offset and deliver other services or use that money to invest in further schemes across the borough. The third sort of scheme we haven't really spoke about is the Kempston swimming pool. Some of you may be aware that we actually managed to scoop about £250,000 by the government and also Sports England as part of their swimming pool fund. So again, we've installed solar panels on that roof. I think that's going to generate about 120 kilowatt hours of green energy to obviously use on that site itself, which again, that have a massive benefit of actually reducing the council's bills, using clean energy to actually heat the swimming pool and run that site. Another sort of update for us is going back to the solar farm that we built on the landfill site. We've managed to, after quite a lengthy process, managed to get renewable energy guarantees of origin, REGO for short, certificates for our solar farm now. So that enables us not only to actually get an income from the generation and selling the energy back onto the grid, we can also trade them certificates as well for a value. I say it was quite a painful process because I think it took us about 2.5 years to get right through that process. There's a lot of work involved with actually getting them certificates validated, but we have now got that and actually gaining the certificates for that site as well. Just to give you some sort of headline figures, the solar farm at Elstow has been generating energy from day one when we first launched the site several years ago. Between 2022 and 2024, that actually brought in just over £1.18 million of income to the council. As you know, that's a significant site for us because we've got a lot of funding from that site, but also where it's actually located on the landfill site, it's now actually bringing a long-term income for this council that should be bringing income for the next 25-30 years for a site which had very little use. Options for the future. Again, looking at all sorts of options. We're looking at other buildings, other sites, other land we own to see what we can explore regarding further solar and also battery installation. And certainly going back to this recent topic of the community energy projects, we're very keen to explore that and look to see how we can benefit both the council and also the community going forward on that area as well. Christina, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add or sort of go into a bit more detail.
In terms of exploring our opportunities for renewables, we're currently in conversations with Greater Southeast Net Zero Hub to undertake free desktop assessments to identify the assets where we can maximize our income from renewable generation. So that's another stream of work we're undertaking.
Right. Do we have any questions for Paul? Okay. Rightio. Because part of it is storage projects, but there we go. Councillor Hendricks.
Yes, Paul, what percentage of the council's overall electricity consumption is now provided through kind of self-generation? So, I mean, the solar farm and then the three other schemes that you mentioned. Can you give me? I mean, don't need a very precise number, just to get an idea.
Yeah, none of the energy comes directly to the council, so we haven't got a private wire or anything that comes directly from the council to the actual generation sites. It goes back on the grid.
Yeah, I know, but in terms of how much is kind of generated through those schemes compared to the overall consumption of the council.
Yeah, no problem. I haven't got it to hand. If Christina hasn't got that to hand, we can certainly provide that. We will have that to hand on a system somewhere. Because we do record that, the generation of everything. That includes the hydropower scheme, all the solar, and things like that. So, yeah, we can provide that in a written response.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes.
I've got some further questions, but I'll let Lucy go first.
Thanks, Hilda. Yes, so thank you, Paul, and thank you, Christina. I mean, these projects make total economic sense, don't they? As well as in terms of carbon emissions. So there's nothing, I think there's nothing to disagree with, but we know external funding is key more than ever, unfortunately. In normal times, what invest to save timeline would be considered? Is it 8 years or is it less than that? Is that the sort of maximum time you'd expect or we'd accept? Is that a political question for the mayor?
Well, I can answer that to a certain degree. It does depend very much on the type of scheme and the risks involved, but we certainly wouldn't look, it'd be around 8 to 10 years. It certainly wouldn't be under 10 years to get a sort of payback. You're probably aware some of the projects we've done have very quick paybacks, like things with the ICT that we done a few years ago and won some awards for the servers and stuff. The evaporative cooling and things like that, you know, that had to pay back about 2.5, 3 years. So it does depend, but we certainly wouldn't, you know, ideal is sort of maximum 8 to 10 years, really.
Okay, thank you. And the report also says green tariffs are unaffordable. And so renewable on site of the council's own assets is really the best option. So Christina, sort of, you said there were going to be studies, feasibility studies, desktop studies. Have any sites been identified already, or is that work that hasn't started yet?
This is work.
Sorry. Go on, Christina. No, go on.
Yeah, we haven't started the work yet. We're currently looking at our assets first, identifying the assets that have the highest energy consumption, and then we'll go on from there. And we have also requested the pricing for green tariffs to balance against the investment needed for renewables and the payback to see which option would save us the most money.
Okay, thank you. So the options for sorry, Paul.
No, I was just going to chip in there. We've done some desktop studying on some of the larger sites that the council owns, such as land and stuff, with UK Power Networks, because a key one of this is we need to make sure that there is a you know, a way in which we can get that power back on the grid. So quite a few of them sites either don't have them connections, and there's an investment to be made by the council, which sometimes often makes the scheme prohibited, or there's a restriction on how much we can put back onto the grid. Bedford is quite constrained right across the borough. It seems mad that we couldn't generate as much energy as we want at certain sites, but we can't. We are curtailed by UK Power Networks, and that's the same. I think you'll probably remember that the Elstow site, although we've got a 4.2 megawatt site on there, we would have liked to build bigger, but we're restricted with UK Power Networks because they just can't handle it on the current grid. So we have done some stuff. There's still more to do. We're certainly looking at more energy storage, again, where that potentially could be used, and then obviously, you know, putting that back onto the grid when it's high demand to help the borough out, but also to generate a better income, which we can then use to invest in further renewables.
Good, thank you. And schools, are they part of the potential equation? Because we know schools have huge energy bills and budgets are terrifying for them. Is school solar, for example? Are there any local authority schools that could be, is that part of the equation or not?
We have put solar on schools, and we supported schools, making sure they get the right suppliers, and actually I think we still do, Christina, fill in some feed-in tariff elements for some of the schools. I certainly know most of the new schools or any extensions to schools all have solar panels on them now going forward.
Thanks, Paul.
Any more questions? Somebody's got the hand up. Councillor Hill.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah, I've got another question. It's actually a follow-on from what Lucy was asking about the green tariffs. Could you give me a rough idea of what the price difference is between the green tariffs and the green tariffs?
I haven't got it to hand because it does vary unless Christina's got it.
I'm happy to provide a figure after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And then an additional question is about what procurement considerations do you take into account when deciding what energy company to go with? And then particularly focusing on the sustainability element, because even if you don't go for green tariffs, energy companies differ in terms of their sustainability credentials. For example, what is very important, as you know, is this concept of additionality, whether you are adding new capacity to renewable energy capacity to the grid. That means does that company support, for example, or fund the building of new wind turbines or solar parks, etc. It's just making sure that, especially when we're thinking about procuring with an energy company, that it's not just price based. And even if you don't go for a green tariffs, there are differences between the companies. Any procurement? Can you enlighten me on what you consider in the procurement?
Yeah, I think we have given a response back to the committee. I was just having a look on my emails, Councillor Hendricks. I thought I might have come back to you direct, but I think we supplied a cost of the green tariff before, but we can dig it out and just review that. In relation to our procurement of energy, obviously we're quite a big player because obviously councils have lots of things. It's not just the buildings, there's all the street lights and things like that. We also have a service level agreement with the majority of the schools right across the borough, and that includes our own schools and the private and academies as well. So we normally secure through a framework, and it'll be a framework with some of the major purchasing organisations like Yorkshire Purchasing or ESPO, and they will make sure them large frameworks make sure that all the credentials in place. They obviously look to see how we can secure the best energy deals for the council, as well as looking at other schemes in which we can, work with that supplier, like we're working with Empower in relation to the solar farm and getting good green payback for that and credentials through the renewable obligation certificates. A lot of the energy now that's being produced by the major suppliers, a lot of it is green, even though we're not paying for it separately. A lot of the grid now contains a lot of green energy as things are moving and switching across to more environmental ways of generating that. So yeah, it depends on a lot of functions. It's not just the price, because when you go to these big organizations, they can't guarantee the price. There's a lot of intelligence and market trading that goes on. So a lot of it is around the quality side, and a lot of that is around the environmental parts and bits and pieces of these companies that we go into before we actually willy-nilly decide to go out and procure for that 2-year period or 3-year period, etc.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. It would be great if you could send, together with the cost difference, send some further information about how these decisions are made. That would be really good. And I agree with you. It is good news that a greater proportion of the electricity supplied is generated through renewable energy. A consequence of that, as you probably also know, is that the REGOs that you have managed to secure, unfortunately, because there's an oversupply of REGOs, the price is going down, and I don't think it's going to come up again. So that may kind of, in terms of when you sell those REGOs, that may be a consideration, because there's just reduced interest, and also there's a lot more questions about the validity of REGOs. So yeah, just as an aside, but you probably know that.
You've said that so well. You're bang on, really. It's taken a period of time for us to get it. Now we've got them, or got them registered and stuff. Then actually, as you know, the price has come down considerably, and there's been lots of greenwashing and stuff, and all sorts of issues over that. And I think that's why it's taken us so long to get through that process now, because they've really tightened up that whole process now to make sure that it is true certificates that are being produced and they're not being sold or doubled or things like that. But hey, we know likes of people, some of these big companies like Amazon and stuff, they were buying a considerable amount of certificates at one point. Amazon have heavily invested in renewable energy and producing a lot of their green energy now as well. So as you say, that market has within some of the levels it was once before.
Yes, indeed. And a lot of companies are doing that, actually, yes.
Okay, you've still got your hand up, councillors. Councillor Spice now has a hand up. Councillor.
Well, I kind of really want to jump in with a comment as opposed to a question, but I wasn't sure if we were doing them, so I thought I'd just put my hand up now. I really wanted to pass on my thanks, Paul, to you and your team for all the work that you've done on this, because I think not only is it saving us money, it's actually a really good way to move forward and to inspire others. So thank you very much.
I think that's well, I think the whole committee could echo those comments, Paul. If you could take them back to you and your team, saying how much we appreciate the work you do.
Thank you, Chair, and the committee. Natasha's here as well, that heads up that team with Christina. So there's a couple of members of the team, but we certainly will make sure that gets back. And there's definitely more to come. I know you're very keen on this type of technology and seeing what we can get, because like I said, the more we can invest in this type of technology, not only is it an environmental benefit, but it's going to pay a long-term income to this council that we can use to continue to invest in these services and help bring greener solutions to everybody in the borough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for that, Paul. Right. I shall look back to my agenda. Now, one of the items I missed out was questions from the councillors, and I think Councillor Bywater has a lovely, jubbly question to us that we missed out because I was so eager to get members of the public involved. Councillor, would you give us your question?
Thank you. Yes, I've got a couple of questions. One of them is actually about the energy and waste team. We're really grateful to have them, but I'm aware that with Claire having left a few weeks ago, I am right in thinking the team's shrunk, haven't I? Am I right in thinking that? Because Claire hasn't been replaced. Christina's doing a great job. Paul's doing a great job. But with a shrunken team, it's looking like we have a reduced commitment politically to energy and climate change generally. So that's kind of a comment. But do we have a commitment as a council? And how is the team faring with one less officer? That's quite a big question.
It is a big question. Paul, if you take the officer bit, and I'll answer the council bit.
So I can take the easy one.
Yeah. Well, Lucy, you got a commitment from us. I mean, I think you only have to look at, we're bringing in food waste. That is a huge investment and a huge bill that this council is going to have. We're bringing in glass waste, something that we, very political, something we were told for years we could never do. So those are two really, really big things that we are doing to, about climate change. And you say, oh, well, the government are paying. Yeah, the government are paying for part of it, but they're not paying for all of it. And I think Councillor Gribble wants to comment about, it's going to leave us with a sizable ongoing bill for something that we could have avoided. And I think that's a real commitment. So maybe we don't talk the same language, but I think the same outcomes are what you're looking at. So perhaps that will answer. And Paul, I don't know if you want to follow on, because what we're actually doing on the ground is very, very good.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, from our point of view, Christina has been interviewed and was successful taking Claire's job. So well done, Christina. We're very pleased to have Christina. She's got a huge commitment and very enthusiastic about the subject. That does put a little bit of pressure under us, but that's something obviously we'll work on to see what we can do. And we're keen to look at apprentices and things like that, because again, we know that this is a really good subject for people to get into that are really passionate and stuff. So we will be working with the schools and stuff to see if we can get some trainees and some apprentices into these roles to support Christina and help us move forward as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul. That's good to know. Can I just say that because the changes are statutory, you've mentioned, Chair, that it is we didn't have much choice. I mean, it's good we have food waste and glass, and we have glass and we have food waste coming out. It's really great, but it is becoming statutory. So it's not as if this council has done it willingly. It should have happened years ago, as it has with many councils. But I have some other questions, but I'll let Hilda and Fuzia go ahead so I don't hog.
Otherwise, Councillor Hilda.
Yeah, I noticed that in the report on energy, Paul, you mentioned the carbon reduction delivery strategy was refreshed in 25. I checked and I haven't seen that come to executive. Can you first of all tell me a bit about the refresh and then kind of when that was signed off? And then a second question, and perhaps that's more of a comment, is we don't really have a local climate change action plan. We have a carbon reduction strategy, but that's only a small bit. As a council who is committed to net zero, we really should have an overarching climate change action strategy. So the question is, when can we expect that?
Good questions. Christina, do you want to dive in there, or Natasha?
I'm happy to start feedbacking on it, and then Natasha, if you want to join in later on. So the carbon reduction delivery strategy was refreshed in 2025 to reflect the new team's resources and commitments. And as part of that, we also refreshed the carbon reduction action plan, and we launched a senior staff carbon reduction delivery group to make sure that we deliver on the set actions. As part of the carbon reduction delivery group, which is for senior staff only, we have already covered topics such as climate risk, the local emissions portfolio, sustainable procurement, and now we're going to cover also sustainable transport. So we have track record of implementing what we have refreshed. And we're also planning to refresh the wider sustainable development and environmental efficiency strategy, which addresses the borough-wide targets by 2050.
So will all of that be put together in a climate change strategy, Christina?
We're open to exploring that to make things easier to follow up on in terms of the action plans, if that's something that the committee feels would be easier to feedback on.
Well, it's good practice, and it's what most councils have these days is a climate change strategy, really. And then coming back to the refreshed carbon reduction delivery strategy, when was that signed off?
Did you say June, Christina? I can't remember the date on that.
So was that signed off by a member of the executive then, Paul?
I think it was an update on that version, wasn't it, Christina?
Yes, it was just an update, not
Yeah.
an entirely new strategy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that doesn't require sign off then?
No, we have the action plan behind there is a plan that we monitor on a yearly basis. So the action plan gets changed every year depending on what the performance is and if there's anything else to capture. And it's not just in one, that goes right across the council, every single area of the council, not just the sections involved with the climate change, schools, adults, it goes right across.
Okay. Are there other questions? Somebody's got their hand up. Far away.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jay. My question to Paul, Mayor just made a comment like, this food-based bin will be cost us, like, obviously government will pay, but then it'll be a huge cost. Why didn't choose to use a smart bin, like the compost bin, like it will be long-term, you change, there will be no smell, it will be safe for council for another collection. So the people will have two benefit. They get rid of their food waste and they make the compost for the garden. It's just a question, suggestion.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. Unfortunately, it's a bit like other things. The government has requested it's mandatory for all councils to offer that particular service to residents and pick it up from the curbside. I totally agree, and I think other people on this call would suggest that it's far better for actually treating the stuff if we can in our own gardens, those that have got our own gardens and stuff to compost, to get special types of food digesters. Obviously, you can't put everything into that element, but it is a way in which it's much more sustainable rather than us coming around in a vehicle, collecting it, taking it to be treated and things like that. So yeah, as I said, we've got to, as part of our mandatory service, we've got to do it as a disposal authority, unfortunately offer everybody a doorstep collection.
But can you think in the future, will you be able to do a trial if you go with a pot of money or something? I know the financial, we can do it. If it's successful, why not we Bedford started rather than we waiting for somebody else started and then we follow up their footsteps.
We did used to do those compost bins. We never had a great take up, did we? I think we used to offer them out.
We did, and we still do offer subsidised composters and water butts to people. I don't know if Natasha can remember, but we did do some food type of composters in the past, didn't we, Natasha?
Yeah, we did. We did a trial of Bokashi style composters.
That's it.
The ones that are sort of more dedicated towards food rather than a mix of food and green garden waste. We did that probably 8-9 years ago. I think we did a trial of about 25 households. I'm struggling now to remember what the outcomes of that were, but I can certainly dig that out and circulate that if it'd be useful.
Thank you.
Right, that's good. Councillor Bywater, you told the committee you've got one. Is that part of your question?
No, it's not actually. Just to come back to two questions, but I was sort of taking a lot of time and wanted to give other people a chance to ask questions, obviously. So Christina mentioned transport earlier. And transport's it's at least 25% of Bedford Borough carbon emissions, isn't it? So I wanted to ask about the LC WIP update. That's the local walking and cycling improvement plan, for people not familiar with the acronym, because we have a slightly different acronym here apparently, but the LC WIP is what it's known as nationally. Paul, is it possible to have an update on progress, please?
I think we gave you one a little while ago, Lucy, didn't we? Councillor Bywaters. I don't think much changed on that. I can just check with the team to see when some of that consultation work and stuff is going to be progressed.
I think I remember you said you were having a meeting with planning in the autumn about it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought
happened.
Andrew Pigmore or Peter Simons come back to you, but I could be wrong. Maybe I've dreamt that up, but I can dig through my emails and then give you that update.
Okay, thank you. Because I think having that strategic evidence-led framework is really essential. And most of our neighbours have got an LC WIP. I think Luton, Central Beds have got several, Milton Keynes also, or theirs is nearly done, I think, if it's not done. So we do need that. It's really vital. My other question, completely different, but it relates to what some of the things Matt was talking about, is developing retrofit skills locally. And if there's any progress on that. I remember a few years ago at this meeting, there were discussions, I think with the previous mayor, about work with Bedford College and retrofitting. Is there any work being done on that, please?
Not specific. Well, not at this current moment. We still have quite close relationships with the college. There's been quite a number of changes in relation to some of the teams that we used to work with, but we are still having regular meetings with them and jointly sharing funding by emails and things like that, where there could be potential for either the council or the college to go for funding, or jointly. That was the main strength there, to see if we could actually do something together. So we do still, there's nothing right on the table at the moment we're working with, but then relationships are still there.
Thank you. So I asked particularly because I saw a few weeks ago that Central Beds, I saw just on Facebook actually, that Central Beds is offering free construction courses with retrofitting, and that's funded by the Beds Education and Skills Academy and the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. So I just wondered did this council apply, or is it eligible?
I can find out. I'm not aware of anything that we've done, but I can find out within generally the council if there's any other elements with the the education side.
Thank you.
Councillor Gribble, you've got a question.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just coming back to Lucy, we are progressing with the LC WIP, and what I will do is ask Peter to provide an update for the committee. We did have a meeting with local cycling, wheeling, walking groups last week, so I'm really keen to involve the local community in how we shape. So yeah, I will ask Peter to update, because I think there is probably something meaningful to let everyone know. Okay, thank you.
Right, is that done? Questions? Probably was. I think it's quite nice having it at the end of the meeting, rather further down the agenda. So I might talk to Alison about having that divination next time. We now move on to item 7, which is the work programme. What do people feel on the work programme? Does anybody want to make any comments? Do you want to take it as read? I assume people want to comment. Lucy, you have your hand up first.
Thank you. So yeah, I had a few suggestions noted down. Some of the things are things we should have an update on, but the first one is the energy. Well, I'm supposed to call it the energy from waste, but I tend to call it the incinerator. We're supposed to have a visit to that site. I don't know if it's a visit.
And I'm really right, because I know how much that is a very, very influential visit. Paul, would you progress that? Because I thought we were going to do that, and did we not get that far, or did they not offer us any days? Because Lucy's got a good point there.
Yeah, they have, Chair. I was going to raise this, so that's a good point. Thank you, Lucy. That's later on in the year. We have potentially got a visit at the food waste plant round about, I think it was the 19th of March, we were looking to combine the climate change with the Environment Committee to go to the food waste plant first, because we felt that was quite timely, bearing in mind that as we go to launch the actual food collection the 30th of March, it'd be good if actually members of both the Climate Change Committee and the Environment Committee actually see where we're taking our food to and understand that process, so they can answer any questions from the residents and have a better understanding of that subject.
Yeah,
That would be
idea.
incredibly useful. That was my other question about Biogen in terms
Sorry,
of
Liz.
school visits. Yes, please.
So I don't know if that's worth tabling now, whether people are happy to sort of look at that as a date to go to that site on there, and then we could arrange the energy from one waste one afterwards, if that's okay.
Would that be an evening visit, Paul?
Yes, if that's okay.
It wants to be that time of year, because then you can see what's going on, because if it's like now, it'll be dark, won't it? So the incinerator is a good visit. I call it the incinerator as well, Lucy. You know, I suppose I ought to get used to calling it a waste from energy plant. But yeah, it'll be a very good visit if we can get people there.
I'm not sure it's a good idea to combine it with meetings, because everyone will just be there forever. I mean, if we go to Biogen first and have to come back for a meeting, it would be really long.
I think you're right, Councillor Gribble. I think it's a one-off specialist thing that we do away from this committee, so it doesn't take up the committee meeting time. It's something we just fit in, and we just go and, you know, it's on a Thursday night or it's on a whatever night of the week, and we just get Friday or whatever. No, not Friday, but sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and when we're not doing other stuff, and we just get the invites. And whether other councillors wanted to go as well, we could offer it out, because I know that they do visits around the waste from energy plant. So I'm quite keen on us getting a visit. They also have a sort of a classroom there and all the rest of it. So it's quite interesting when you do get there. If somebody could, Alison, dedicate to making a point of asking them. Biogen also do stuff, so I'd quite like to have a visit there. Lucy, does that fit in? Because I think if you have it with the committee meeting and coming back to committee, it's just not going to work. It's a specialist visit, and we want to make a job of it. Lucy, do ask.
Yeah, so I was going to ask a couple of other things for the work programme. One of them is last year, I hope we all found the public health report on climate and health really useful. That's the update to the Lancet report, and I'd suggest we have an update on that again, because it's not good. And it's really important that we as members understand that, and as a council we understand that. So that was one thing. And my other suggestion was just a briefing paper, not to make evening work for officers, but a briefing paper on the electric vehicle gully charging would be really useful, especially for my ward, because lots of terraced homes. But yeah, I think other councillors hopefully would find that useful, just as a briefing note.
Paul's writing away, and so's Alison.
Sorry.
I assume that.
Yes.
Right, that sounds good. Lucy's had a cup of tea. Right, does anybody else want to add anything to the work programme? Nicola or any of the other councillors want to add? Jane? Anybody can think of anything we want to add? Here we go,
Yeah.
Councillor Gribble.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wonder if we can add to our tree planting schemes, that we investigate more urban areas to plant trees, you know, maybe more deprived areas. I did speak to James Russell at Forest of Marston Vale a few weeks ago about this, and he seemed to think that if we find the places, he could supply trees. So, you know, maybe rather than concentrating on, you know, massive tree planting schemes, we could just try and green up some of our more urban areas where, you know, people need trees. That's all.
Good point. I know Paul did some work on our tree planting and what we've been doing and keeping them alive. I think we actually put in the budget, because a lot of trees have been planted, a lot of trees have died. and it was like very important that, especially with the droughts we've been having, climate change and all, we seem to have long periods of dry periods over the summer where young trees die. They do need those first 2 or 3 years to be ones they can survive. Paul,
I mean, I think we've had 75% survival this or last year, Tom. So
yeah,
that is with watering.
I
yeah,
think
huge
Paul
improvement.
also, that's another great tribute to your team, and perhaps thanks ought to go to those chaps as well, because they do labour in quite some hard conditions.
Yep.
Okay. Now, is there anything else anybody wants to put on the work programme? Feel free to email Alison with any ideas that will come to us. And separately, we will try and organise 2 meetings for Biogen and for the waste from energy plant. And I will take advice. We'll offer it to the committee first, then to the Environment Committee, and then to all members if we don't get much of a turn up. Alison, you're waving at me.
Yeah, sorry. Would it be useful to members if we sent around an invite just to see if you were available on the date and time proposed? Because we have also been copied into the email that Paul has about the time and date of the suggested visit on the 19th of March. Yeah.
Don't all jump at once.
Can I come in?
Send an invite around, because I'm not sure I'm about then, but
I know there's an issue with the environment meeting, but I'll just set out as a proposed date until we resolve the issues about there are some external visitors coming to environment. I understand on that evening, so it might not be suitable for the OSC members. But if I send around a diary invite, people can respond. We'll see what the level of uptake is, and then we can decide if we proceed with that date or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
19th of March is Eid, our celebration.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah.
So I wouldn't. That's the only day I want to be with the family.
Well, that might be a problem for environment anyway.
Yeah, you may need to find a different date, I think.
Yeah. While you're chatting, Paul has come back.
Yeah, what I'll do, Chair, that's okay, and Alison, is perhaps if it may be better if we send like a doodle type of calendar with dates on, with a number of dates on, to see what most people can accept and what's suitable over the next couple of months. And then what we can do is then go with the majority and then send that round if that's okay with everybody. Otherwise, it'd just be a nightmare to coordinate everything.
I think I'll leave it in your good hands, Paul. Oh, yeah. Councillor Dibble.
No, I was just going to say, may I suggest that actually first and foremost we liaise with Biogen and the incinerator to make sure they can have us in the evening or whatever.
Or towards early afternoon. We'll leave it in your good hands, Paul, to try and get us those visits, because they are quite good.
Yep, no problem, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, committee.
Right. Has anybody got anything else for the work programme? Because this is the last item on the agenda. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Alison, no doubt you'll be in contact with the minutes and all the decisions and stuff, and we've been in contact with. But I've enjoyed tonight. Thank you very much for our visitor, Matt, who did his best. I look forward to hearing more about that in the future. So, Alison, is there anything else anybody wants to say? I will declare the meeting closed. If nobody else is waving hands, then thank you very much this evening, and thank you very much for your taking part. Anyway, have a lovely evening, everybody. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.